All right, hey, here we go. We're gonna go through this pretty quick. I already have a typo on it. All right,
Is his like the
A
green
typo?
dodge?
yeah.
Where?
Who, Dalton's?
Yeah.
Lines.
There's a red potty.
There's a red potty.
I can already see it. And I don't even know why it's not even highlighted.
P-R-I-N.
Leans must be a, leans must be an actual word in, I guess, in the English language. This didn't even highlight it. All right, so, okay, all right, real quick. Going through this, we're gonna walk through the first 4 today, I guess, the first 4 directions, like first page. And then tomorrow we'll do the next 4. I guess Thursday we'll do the next 4. And then test is on Friday. It's pretty straightforward. I just picked the main bullets. There was some weird obscure stuff that we covered. I just picked what were the main bullets you were supposed to know. Okay, and that's what we're gonna be doing. We're doing 4 today, 4 Thursday. Homework's due on Friday. And this thing should be filled out by Friday because we're doing it basically together in class. And this is, you get points for this. So don't throw this away. I do grade this thing.
Did you miss me?
As you
We've only taken
I was
this spot for
going
2
to-
years.
How was your Padres?
It was good. I know where I'm going now. I'm going to DMAC.
Cool, okay.
We went to DMAC, and
Yeah.
now I'm going to DMAC.
Cool, good for you. All right,
Thank you.
all right, now.
They did.
Let's walk through the first one. We need to find an equation for this line that passes through the given points. It doesn't matter the form you put it in. I can put it in point slope, standard, whatever you want to. I'll have the answer key down. I would probably expect most people just go to point slope form because it's one of the easiest forms. In fact, let's write that down.
About do it.
So if you're going to point slope,
There's 5 over X minus X maybe?
okay.
Do we have to specify what forms?
No, you just have to get into one of the forms, and it has to be written correctly in that form.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if I go to point slope, this is the form that we need to have.
form, it's okay if it's wrong.
Right.
All right, so here's the form that I would probably expect most people to go into, because you don't have to do a lot of like extra moving things around. You have to find slope, plug in one of the 2 points that you picked, and you have to put it in the right spots. That's really all it requires. It's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to go to this one. So I'm going to find slope first. When you find slope, you subtract the y numbers from each other, and then you subtract the x numbers. Remember, they're always written in alphabetical order. So I'm going to go the 3 minus the 1. That's y minus y, and then x minus x, so 2 minus the negative 1. It does matter the order you subtract. So what I did is I went back minus the front. If you go front minus back, you're fine, but you got to stick with that direction.
Okay.
So I went the y, the y's always go on the top, and the x is go on the bottom. So because it's rise over run, rise over y numbers. So you subtract them. So I went 3 minus 1, the 2 minus the negative 2. When you do that, I'm going to get 2 on the top, and on the bottom, I'm actually going to get 4. That's why it really actually does matter the order you subtract. Because if you subtract out of order, like you switch them around, like if you switch one of them, I should say around, you get a negative when you should be getting positive. Then this will simplify to be half. I don't mind if you don't simplify it, but I do want to see how you came up with your fraction. So you better be showing me what you're subtracting. That way I know, okay, this is how he got 5, or she got 5, or a negative number, because you maybe subtracted out of order. Because I know most people can kind of do it in their head, but I at least want you to at least set it up and then just give me the answer. Okay, once you have it, I'm going to plug my numbers in. So I'm going to plug in my half. And now I got to subtract my numbers in. So what I need is I need to take out the x1 and the y1 and plug in one of the coordinates. So one of the coordinates here, it doesn't matter which one you use. Which one do you guys want to use?
2, 3.
2, 3. Okay. 2, 3. Probably the easy one to use. So I'm going to pick that one. The x goes in with the x number, so x minus the 2, y minus the 3. If you pick the other one, you're fine. You do not need to rearrange to another form, but that's point slope form. We did that. That was the first section we started with.
Yeah, it's just easier to.
We did all the different forms because I went in order.
People would easily mess up.
It'll be the same basically number of questions that you have here.
I found another, what spelling error?
Which one?
The slops.
The slops? Where's the slops?
Slopes and then the slop.
Oh,
Wait, what?
I really wish we were.
Man, this is what I get for typing too quick about a week ago.
A week ago? If you typed it a week ago.
I don't look
You
at
had
it until, I didn't look at it until
As
like,
per Mrs. Newberger, you should give yourself 3 or 4 days to back off, so when you look back, you see all the mistakes.
well, I'm seeing it now 3 or 4 days later.
You said it was a week ago.
It was a week ago. So,
How many days do you think are in the week?
I don't pay attention to that.
He doesn't pay attention. He doesn't know.
Okay, here we go. Okay, we ready? Alright, going to the next one. Does everyone have that written down? You know what to do. Okay, next one. This one's more specific now. Now we're gonna have to go further. So on the second one, they want us to go. With perpendicular and parallel. We have two different forms we're gonna have to go here. It still requires basically the
This
same
was on our
work.
homework.
Yep, they all are, by the way.
It did.
So, all right. So now that we have this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna write these in two different forms. So I'm gonna separate, and if you have a problem where it asks for parallel and perpendicular, you do have to label which one's which. So, because I want to know if you actually know the difference. So parallel is going to be over here,
And the slops are perfect.
and perpendicular is going to be over here. Okay, so let's do the parallel one first. Parallel is going to have the same slope as the line that they gave you, and it's got to go through point 1, 5. So the idea is that I'm going to use this form again. I'm going to use that point slope form, because it's just kind of the easy one that I don't really have to think about. I can just plug in the numbers. I know that I'm going to be crossing through 1, 5. So these are where the numbers are going to go, 1 and the 5 go in there, because I know I have to pass through that point. But all I need to make sure is I find slope. Slope is basically given to me because of this line. That line is written in a standard form. It's not quite, I mean the X is in the wrong spot, but it's in the standard look.
It's 4.
So I'm going to move it over. So if I rearrange this equation,
Like, there's an X plus B.
so if I rearrange this equation, it's negative 4x plus 7. And so it looks like the slope of that line is actually negative 4, because it's mx plus b. So if the negative 4, that's the number that goes here.
Then we have the opposite reciprocal slope.
Yeah. Okay, we're good with how I found the parallel one.
Yeah.
Same slope, it went through the coordinate. Now, if you didn't hear Reese, he was talking about if we're going perpendicular, basically the only difference in the formula is that the slope was changed, and the slope is the opposite reciprocal of this one. You flip it over and change the sign. So it's going to be 1/4 and positive.
Broke my brain.
That's the only difference. But you might have to go find the slope, because maybe they don't give you an equation. Maybe they said, okay, you're going to pass through 1, 5, but the line you're trying to be parallel to will pass through these two coordinates. So now you got to go find the slope for them. But that's not bad, because you already
Rise over run.
you're just doing rise over run like you did in the first problem, and you already have the coordinate you need to pass through. So really, that might be just as easy as rearranging the equation to get a different form.
Hey, Mr. Ward, I have a question.
Yes.
Do you ever try writing with your right hand?
No.
Wait,
So-
you're a left-hander?
And like,
How did you not? Why do you wear your, wait, you're a left-hander, but you wear your watch on your left hand?
yes, I do everything almost right-handed except for right.
What? What's an example?
Well, those strong.
And you can still have to-
Wearing your
so-
watch on the hand that you like right.
Baseball,
That's,
golf, anything
I-
throw,
you
it's all
don't do
right-handed.
that. You wear,
Basketball, I'm down there right.
you wear your watch on your non-dominant hand.
No.
That's like
Yeah,
the rule.
my left hand was my right hand was my turn.
It's just the rule.
Wait, can you write with your right
I'm
hand
totally
right
backwards.
now?
It's totally weird.
Why do
Wait,
you write?
can't you
But Mr. Ward,
He actually has really nice
it is
handwriting.
like an unwritten rule that you wear your watch on your non-dominant hand.
Yeah, but I don't.
He doesn't.
How does that matter?
understand.
I don't.
What's
I,
considered
hey,
dominant?
I don't care. It's just whatever I want.
If you
Alright,
write
so
your left,
everybody-
just whatever you
so-
write, which one's dominant?
I have a
Shut
question.
up.
Can you try writing with your right
Whichever
hand?
one
I just
you
want to see how it looks. Why do you have a
Hey,
paper
moving
thumb
on.
on
The
your...
whole thing is
Sure.
superior.
Okay. What?
Why do you have a
Oh,
paper?
that was because there was the papers I handed out.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's
Alright.
your excuse.
Okay, number 3 and 4. I'm using this problem. They want us to go into a different form of an exponential. So this is the second section now. I want to find the base, and I want to find that percent of growth. So the idea is that that growth rate is based on the base number. So they're giving me two numbers in this form. So this 5 is based on time. So this is the t, and this is the t.
I'm doing a project on time.
Okay.
Spice the herb actually.
Okay. Spelled different. And then anyway, the other numbers are what it's equal to. So what I mean by that, I can set these up into this formula right here, and then I can solve for the base of A really quickly. So here's how it works. The first one, if I put this form right here into that, all I need to make sure of is put 5 in the t spot. So Q of A, that's the initial starting amount. I don't know what that amount was because I'm starting at the 5th and 7th year down the road. But eventually, like on the 5th year, when I'm putting 5 for the power, I was getting 75.94. That was the 5th year. The seventh year, I was getting 170.86. And so this is the 7th year. And so the idea is that how you find the rate is you actually just divide them. I always take the later one, so the 7th year, and divide by the initial one. So I take the later one down the road, divide by the one that happened earlier. And so if I do this, so 170.86 equals
gonna be
the
base A.
QA7. I'm going to divide both sides by the Q of 5 part, 75.94. The Q of A to the 5th, because I'm dividing by something of equal value. Those things I'm dividing by, because it's a property of equality. I can divide by something that's equal. And when I divide, it will cancel out the Q of A's. It'll cancel out the A, basically, to be a power of 2, because I'm going to take the top minus the bottom. And then if I divide this, that's what my A squared is equal to, A to the power of 2, A to the 2nd year, basically. And so if I divide these, what do I get? Type it in, and I want to go as many decimal places as I can, so I'm going to go like 4 if I have it. Divide by 75.94. So I'm going to go 4 decimal places, 2.2499, then after that there's no significant digits. So, alright. Did everyone see how I did that?
Yes. And the square root of those 1.499.
Then yeah, then you have to take the square root to get A by itself.
1.4999. No, it's actually
Because the next time you're-
1.49999780.
Yeah, I know, but what he's saying is he's referring to as like, is that-
I just took the actual
Like,
square
it's
root
probably
of that divided by that, so I
I
got
was
the
gonna say,
exact
the
number.
next number is guaranteed to be significant no matter what it is.
Alright, and again, how we did this, we take the power of 2 to the other side, take the square, it's about 1.5-ish. Okay, if I round. So the idea is that, and again, if you were more accurate than me and you actually just took the square root of whatever number is on your screen, that's great. So it's about 1.49 or 1.5,
Can we round up?
and you can round, definitely.
Oh, that's
So
assuming
what
it's
this
up.
is my A, my base is that 1.49 or 1.5,
So we can put that in number 3.
1.5, and then the growth rate was 50% growth.
How do we know?
Because you went 100% growth, and this is what's extra.
Oh, yep.
If it was 0 point something, that means you're decaying by a certain amount, and you can figure out the difference between 1 and whatever you
For
did.
4, it's 50%.
It'd be negative something.
Yeah, it'd be, well, it would be like if you know your number was like
Negative
0.94, you decayed by 6%. Because 94 was the difference of 100 was 6% off.
Right.
That makes sense.
So we're going by 50%, that's pretty good growth.
It makes sense, but
Okay, questions at all about this process?
No, let's go.
It'll be just like this, it'd be a basic problem, it's just having you set up your exponentials. The type of story problem that I gave you with these was something very similar to a population in like 2010, here's a number, population in 2015, here's a number, figure out what happened in 2002. That's basically kind of what you're doing there. It's figuring out what your growth rate is, you can go backwards and forwards in those problems. So, but it'll be something with numbers, not a story problem, because I think the next one uses story problems. So it'll be something with just digits, you just have to go find it. Question?
I'll wait.
Okay, alright, this should be the last question on the first page, I think.
No. We have 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, but it's like,
It's
this
one
is the last
problem.
direction. This is one problem. Okay.
You were talking about the L.
She looked away, and I was like, are you kidding me?
Okay, last problem on this page.
We just have to run, there are no more bonehead remarks left in this period for you
Yeah,
girls.
I'm gonna cry.
You've run out of time.
Okay,
You have to be nice
You've
though.
lost your friend.
If you wanna be the homecoming team like Hall, you have to.
I
be
don't
nice.
want, I don't want to be on the
okay. Alright,
Already wrapped it up.
now,
Who did
Okay.
you vote for, Mr. Ward?
and vote. Alright, so here we go.
I think you did. Can you
World
back up?
population was 6.91 billion. We're increasing at a rate of 1.1 per year, and it's going to remain constant. It's going to keep growing at that percent. And this isn't annual. This is like it's continual growth at that same rate. So we're going to be using exponentials in this case. If they just said the annual growth rate was this, and they didn't say that it's continuing, just that 1 year, then you could use the A term like we did in the last problem. But this one says it's continuing, it's constant, it's the same throughout everything. It's not just 1 year, it's not just annual. It's like forever, it's staying constant. Then you can use the exponential, the E part. And so we're gonna set this up as a function with E.
Wait,
The
no,
idea
it's
is
per
that-
year.
What? It tells you per year, but it's not just saying for that 1 year only. It says we're going to continue at that same rate for the rest of time.
Constant, sorry.
It's saying constant the whole time, so now we can use an exponential.
I'm honestly so dumb.
And so the idea is that I'm going to set up my formula for number 5. So the formula is that the amount you're trying to get to is equal to the initial population times E to the rate that you're growing by. I'm growing by a 1.1%. That's 1.1%, right? Because you have to move the decimal over 2 spots. It's 1.1. And then you have a T after it. That's your growth. Okay, now here's the idea. Now that we know we're growing by 1.1%, if it was decaying by 1%, you just put a negative on that 0.011.
So that's
Because
our answer for
that'd be
5.
decay. So that's number 5, right? We already got our formula. Number 6, what will the population be in 2020?
You just gotta plug in the T.
We have to plug in the T. The T, the
It's
time,
10.
has to be from 2010. You really have to know where you
62.
started to where you're going. Because this is my initial formula for 2010. So if we're going out to 2020, you have to find the difference in years from here to here. And that's what goes in your power. So you guys are all saying 10, that is correct. So I'm going to put a 10 there. So all I would do is I would type in 6.91 e to the 0.011, and we're going to take that times 10. And that will give me my population in 2020. Okay, or the rough population, I should say. Okay, so 6.91, hit the shift E, we're going to put this E to a power. 0.0, I guess it'd just be
Yes.
0.11, I guess. And so what do we get, like 7.71?
Precisely.
Okay, roughly, if I just cut off
No,
all the decimal places.
precisely.
Okay, 7.71.
Precision is due to the accuracy of the
All right,
measurement
this-
device.
Billion?
Yeah, this is in billions, right?
That's good.
Because remember, when you do this, you don't need to actually write, you don't need to write all those decimals. If it's in billions from the start and I just use 6.91, your answer always coming out will be in the same billions. So if you're in a decimal, that means you're in some number less than a billion.
So if
You're a
it's
fraction of a billion.
10,000 billions, that would be kind of.
Yeah. So
Use
if
the
you
formula
know,
for finding the population.
quadrillions or whatever that is, trillions.
Do you want me to go?
So depends on how far you're going.
Did you do the natural
What's
logarithm?
the
Yeah.
biggest number you
Divided
can
by
count to?
0.01.
You can Google Plex is one of them.
Oh,
Plex is like way out there. It's like something to the 24th power that it actually calculates.
Google is 100 zeros.
What do you mean?
Something like
I think it's 100 zeros.
Yeah, do
Yeah, it
logs.
is. It's 100.
Do logs.
That's silly.
Could you
Well, I
count that how you
mean,
think?
27.
I wouldn't be able to do it in my lifetime.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, but
so
if
you
you
gotta
had
get
extended
down.
that time, what comes after?
Here's 27. Yeah.
What'd you put for T then?
What was I after
Uh, 27, you don't know.
Quintillion.
You looked at what?
Yeah. Seth?
Isn't it half? Where's half at?
Okay, Hept is the same
How do you
stuff.
even solve
Oh,
that?
it
If
is?
it's, so 2 equals 1.
Alright, hey, now, the next part is you have to figure out what time it will take for this population to double. So in the last question, it's basically all the same work, it's all the same work, but now the only difference is what you have to put on this side
Oh, you can just put a 2. And then change the
is
2.9 to
13.82, I think that's the double of 6.91, I think.
Always
Yeah,
it takes
that's
63 years.
So, and then you have to calculate, and I wanna know, the year, I don't care if there's like a ton of decimals, if you need to round it, it's fine. I don't need to know the month or anything like that. But you have to solve for T, so you have to take the natural log of both sides.
It was in May.
2073, right?
What is it?
Yeah, but then.
Question,
What's the answer?
okay. Hey, practice guy, bring this back Thursday, we'll do the second half, test is Friday. Homework for you guys is due Friday. I would actually recommend right now, just work on the homework to page 42. This practice, yeah, the practice guide, we're gonna do this in class on Thursday, so you don't need to worry about it. So,
Just take the LM.
Like doing it on your desk.
Reese, I'm dumb.
Can you write with your right
Can't
now?
help it here. I can't do it next period.
Right, hello, my name is
We gotta do,
not good.
we gotta do sociology.
John C. Watch. John C. Watch.
Ellen, do Ellen and E not cross out? Oh, yeah, they do.
Looks so awkward.
Oh,
Your backhand is better than my.
Why is it? I thought we were supposed to put a 1 here.
Earlier.
Can I write with my left hand?
Hello, my name
Omar,
is
I thought we were
Mr.
supposed to put a 1 here. Why
I
is
thought that was a W with 3 humps. I was like,
I
what
took
the
the 1
heck?
off. There's a 1 there, but Ellen
Not
and E
good.
cancel. So you can leave a 1 there, but it's not
And
gonna be
it
big.
What is T equal?
would have been, I guess,
63?
Yeah.
third grade, I did something to my wrist. I didn't break anything, but I like sprained it. So I had to write for like a week. I had to write with my right hand because I had like a brace on, and it had like this weird metal bar that I couldn't hold on to like a pen. It was like the worst spot. And so yeah, I had to write this hand.
Oh, and I'm like,
Oh, that was a train wreck. I'm learning cursive.
I'm not running.
Never
Is it
got those
similar
days
to the
back.
time that you snapped your whole shoulder?
Like,
Is it similar to the time that you snapped your whole
No,
shoulder?
that was just different. I just can't
my hip was
Oh, wait, so 63, then you ready to do 27?
Yeah, because you start with 2010, and you gotta add your 63.
So is this always inflated?
That was
Okay, that's enough for Sydney today. There you go. I'm not even gonna do my recap homework. Huh.
You guys have put the mystery, you can break it down.
Break it in. Okay, spark plug, and then like
Thought I had that.
crack up all like the bits that like burn out.
Should I start being nice to the freshmen?
My red
Why would you say? Oh, wait a minute, I'll hit you again afterwards.
No, I'm serious. That says from
Like, why?
that's from last year.
Isabel.
Yeah.
What is my name?
He mixed up.
Mara, I really don't want to go to Spanish tomorrow.
I don't know. Jason.
You're leaving me in this. I'm like, well, yeah, Spanish. We're still behind.
What is?
Well, not really, but kind of.
After a while,
We were ahead like by like a week, and then we decided to watch every single video in class. It takes us long because she literally will play like 20 seconds of it, then pause it and hit the decipher. Then we talk about like 10 different things when we're watching it. So they're 10-minute videos, but they take the whole period to do. Oh God. So now I'm watching this. Yeah, now I'm watching another one. Trying to go to soccer. We're never gonna get the time. We just keep doing it.
What is your
This is like bigger than you, like lately we've really been like having conversations like during the like thing and then during when we're having discussions on the first one.
Do you drive around?
68.
And then random.
Is frequency and period the same thing?
Oh, so you have a Because I remember you bought that.
I really don't want to work today.
Do it.
I don't
That's
either.
probably when you were about freshman.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it was.
I had to work for 4 hours. 4.5. I have
Did you let me watch it all the time?
But it's
Mr. Ward, I have a question.
It like just rains tired.
What is
I do it all the time.
You really yelled and I thought you were.
Wage 200.
She's not bad, I just I feel like
Oh, really?
You can solve stuff, you can't use it.
You actually heard us. I didn't think you did. Period and frequency are the same thing.
I just am not
Awesome.
feeling
Thanks, Zoe.
like
I have
I
one
can
in
cancel
college.
all
My
Where'd it go?
I snapped it. Snapped the screen.
You got mad.
So,
the
I
first couple weeks I was like,
No, no, I
yeah,
didn't
sure,
break
I'll
it
do this, and
personally.
now
Like,
I'm
it
like,
wasn't
no,
like I
I
was
don't want to.
ripping it apart.
Yeah.
So I used my bag.
3.
They warn you, like, when you put the
I
camera
just don't
back.
like that. I would hate that.
I threw it in my bag. My book wasn't on it. Like,
It's the
when I
anxiety
watched
girl.
some rain, so I got her in. Was walking to class, got to class, locked my bag
Like the
down.
board.
The calculator was under the book.
Period.
And all I heard was.
Amplitude is 3.
What can it do?
Some people are only there like.
Solve any gravity matrices. You solve like, you just take a
So
solve.
it's all to do like, you know, all the water down here.
How far in that goes.
That's awesome.
When you're in those classes, no one think about it, I just want to see the answer, and I can use that as I didn't want to like have to like.
On Fridays, there's not as many kids.
I've already counted, right?
Numbers
I was
like.
using that number for something, so I was just like, give me the answer, I just want to know.
Where are you looking?
Yeah, so.
Where are you getting 2 by?
I went last Friday.
What is
No, this is the amplitude. This is the amplitude. You said frequency and period of the same thing.
Their 89 series is really good. The titanium one.
Drosty, did you ever find out who works with us
They
tonight?
had these
Rachel.
Inspire ones that were color screens.
Wait, is it just
They
an
were possible they had
school
touch
thing?
screens.
I do. It's
That's
all
just
four
full
of us.
and then we're like four.
It's Rachel, 4 to 9.
They weren't too
Me, 5 to 9. Drosty, 5 to 7. And then our boss, 6 to 9. It's confusing, but
Now, if probably what I would do, I would probably.
she comes in after. It's like, so I guess I don't have to deal with her for 2
So I have twice
hours.
usually, but divide by
We have a 400 calculator for like
like if the graph is supposed to be out
You
of
saw his
line,
truck?
you
Do we
divide
have to
by
do
this
this?
number.
Do we have to
So
divide by
I think
2
it's-
pi to find the period?
So I have an hour without her. I was
Three
confused.
T, we have to
And
divide by
Drosty
2 pi.
leaves an hour after she
You have to
comes.
take, you have to take the, you
So
have to
most of the
take
time there's
combine,
3 of us.
divide by 3 to figure out the.
You know the one
2 pi divided
On
by
weekdays, there's 2 of us.
I don't do five.
I don't either.
I'm trying to describe like the truck.
Because then she doesn't work today though, does she?
Wait,
Okay, it was right when I was
can
there.
Because then she'll have to come and do the rest of the I was like, why are we wasting time at a thing that pays $8 an hour, the job that pays $8 an hour, and you can just be,
I was working.
you get more hours there, like here and
So when you time it by
Yeah.
So I was making like 6, 7.
Yeah.
I wanna quit.
I think- I
I
think
wish I didn't have a job, like
putting
it
it
would
all
be so
together.
relieving
Yeah, part of
not to have
I
this
should have been
job.
saving some student loans.
But I
Because I was,
want,
I
so I'm
was,
gonna like quit for
I was just basically just like.
Oh, I wanna work that office.
is it 2 plus pi divided by 2?
I didn't go up.
What is it?
Yeah.
2 pi.
Where? I don't understand.
Yeah, that'll be.
They're not even in one of his
No,
classes.
she went to Iowa.
Out from last year, probably. No, I don't think it was from last year. Since it's from this year. I feel like I haven't seen that before.
Will help you
He
buy
needs
your.
to update his tabs.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know.
That seriously is like a
It's a pretty good deal, but it's not 7 grand.
Where?
But there's a big first not up.
This door, but there's a very.
I know, I was looking at it.
Oh, I thought you were like.
No, I was glaring crap to see it.
So this one.
Yeah, so that's a sine graph. So is that amplitude divided by
Study
Did we wide?
What? Part of it helps.
They always take the better.
Yeah, I know, but I want to get 13.
This is who?
No.
What are you getting? For my first time, I had to go up.
No, I promise I have it.
All my scores
No,
were
I
the
know.
same.
But I was
Like, 'cause I went down 5 on science, 2 on three. So they've only been up 6 on English.
That's
I would have just went up 6 on
Yeah.
English, I would have been close. I would have needed
Yeah.
So if I take it again, I just get the same thing that I got the first time. I'm reading, so I'm just saying, I'm saying my English, I just have to go up 2.
These two ones are getting rest on.
But math was just as.
So that one, this one.
Mine was up.
6.5.
Time.
It did-
I'm really.
It definitely was.
That's what I would do. I would
Excuses,
fly
like,
through as fast as I can.
but let me
Just like
know.
go through old.
Don't just do it behind my back, because then I just feel like that's.
No, go back. He
There was a couple
they're not
that-
supposed to.
When I was doing math.
That kills you.
Like, when did the same school Yeah, I was fine with that, because she told me. The thing is, if she's not going to
That's 50%.
You said that's 2
I hate that there's, you could get
So is it?
extremely high scores if you have time to actually run through it.
Yeah,
Like the science was the hard
if there was no time.
The science was definitely the hardest part.
Oh yeah, 30 against 30 is easy, but they put the time on it to see what you were
Not like
doing.
2x.
Yeah, so
This
science
is
gone.
negative 5 divided by
First time just seeing very complicated. I'm the reason I was decided definitely harder. This time I was not at all, and I went down 5.
negative cosine.
I would know, because I don't think that 4 on science. I would have, my science was insane. I wish your science, every time when I was
Like, you're literally just saying that. They keep saying, oh, she has way more. Like,
up on science, me and Hal went down like a combined.